Today's topic is Transcendentalism, which is a philosophical movement very predominantly important in American way of life and its literature. So starting from its introduction, Transcendentalism is a philosophical and religious way of thinking that manifested itself in a particular, if not necessarily uniform ways. Though some of its ideas are about nature and individualism, and that can be traced to the late 18th century and to the European thinkers such as Samuel Taylor Coleridge and Immanuel Kant, who are the Transcendentalism flourished as an indigenous American movement from the 1830s through the 1860s. It overlapped chronologically with Romanticism, which came after that, with which it started, and it gave its start and shared some key concepts and was identified with a group of New England writers. Chief among them were Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Margaret Fuller, and the theologian and social reformer Theodore Parker, and the educator Elizabeth Palmer Peabody, and the visionary philosopher Amos Bronson Alcott. Pressed to explain themselves, those associated with Transcendentalism offered various definitions at the time. Emerson, in his lecture The Transcendentalist, delivered in 1842, called Transcendentalism movement and idealism as it existed in 1842. William Henry Jennings, in his section of Memoirs of Margaret Fuller, in which published in 1852, called Transcendentalism a vague yet exalting conception of the godlike nature of human spirit. One of the first historians of the movement, Octavius B. Frothingham, called Transcendentalism an assertion of the immanence of divinity in instinct. So what emerges from these contemporary definitions and form and from the writings of the Transcendentalists themselves they have some recurring ideas, and these ideas are the indwelling of the divine in human soul. There is a divine soul in every human being, and the superiority of individual over society or its institution, since human soul contains divinity, so the divine is superior from all the rules and regards. So human being, human soul and human instinct and human will is above all rules and societies and institutions. Intuition, imagination and vision are the ways of understanding the world. Nature as both a field of study and an inspiration to self-development. And there was a confidence that universe is organic, welcoming, and inherently good. These ideas are interconnected because the divine living within every soul. Transcendentalists generally accepted the paramount importance of every human being. Alcott called the individual a god in ruins. So therefore, in Emerson's term, the watchword of life as self-reliance, not reliance on society or its institutions or its rules or its traditions or any of its ideas. I have covered a video on self-reliance, lecture by Ralph Waldo Emerson. If you want to go further into that topic, you should watch that video. So, because logic and sensory knowledge limited what that intuition, which is a higher mystical and poetic awareness revealed a truer sense of world as organic and divine. So there he says that because logic and sensory knowledge are limited, what the individual could know to a realm of experience, the transcendentalists believe that intuition is a higher, mystical and poetic awareness revealed a truer sense of the world as organic and divine. With that bracing revelation about the world came the challenge to live up to our place in it. As Thoreau puts it in Walden, in his book Walden, published in 1854, he says, our whole life is startlingly moral, which means that our every action either advances or retards our spiritual development. So our action determines our development. So through the transcendentalist, they gravitated towards certain important topics, and it is impossible to define transcendentalism with complete accuracy. First, it was a term of disparagement that most members of the group disliked, and it implied a coherent dogma that all of them rejected. And the second reason was that defining transcendentalism is an inherently contradictory act. Because to define means to fix the limits of something, and to transcend means to go past them. So to define and to transcend, these two are very different words, so there should not be any definition to transcendentalism. One of the most famous brief definition was reportedly offered by one of Emerson's friends in 1836. The term transcendentalism meant, she supposed, a little beyond. The transcendentalists believe, and they themselves preferred, the term like the new schools and the newness. So transcendentalism was a product of its time as a creedless religious phenomena. Transcendentalism rejected and they reacted to some of the dogmatism and sectarianism which the Unitarian theologian which the sectarianism that happened, and that characterized American Protestantism in the mid-18th century. There was a theologian, William Ellery Channing. He promoted the idea that individual people had a likeness to God, but it remained for the transcendentalists to assert the true divinity of human beings. And many of them would have agreed with Emerson in his Divinity of School address, which happened in 1838, in finding contemporary religion too scholastic, dogmatic and emotionally cooled. So there was a reaction against the religion, the toughness of the dogmatism of religion. As a philosophy, transcendentalism accepted the Enlightenment idea, which says that nature reveals the divine will while recognizing a higher reason than mere scientific observation. Most characteristically, the transcendentalists valued individualism, and they expressed it in various ways. Margaret Fuller referred to self-dependence. Henry David Thoreau called it a living deliberately. Just like Friedrich Nietzsche, he says live dangerously. And Emerson says that the transcendentalism is the infinitude of the private man. So the infinitude means the transcendence, the going beyond the limits of a private man. Yet transcendentalism had some definite social manifestation. The Transcendentalist Club flourished from 1836 to about 1848, which was a loose confederation of the like-minded people or scholars who met in the Boston area for conversation and inspiration. One of the club's main project was the Dial, which was a magazine of literature and ideas edited by Emerson and Margaret Fuller. And in 1840, George and Sophia Ripley founded the Brook Farm community in West Roxbury, Massachusetts, which was a working farm and a communal society intended to fuse intellectual and manual labor. Largely skeptic of existing social institutions, free individuals like the Transcendentalists were active in reforms movement of the day that promoted the freedom for individual from the constraints of unfair laws and practices. Henry David Thoreau writes in an essay published in 1848 called The Resistance to Civil Government that our proper duty was to ourselves, not to fighting against evil. Yet he became one of the most committed opponents of slavery. Fuller and Sophia Ripley championed women's rights. Parker and Emerson advocated abolitionism against slavery. So Alcott and Peabody pioneered educational reforms. So ending the topic, so how did Transcendentalism faded away? After the Civil War, Transcendentalism's influence began to wane. Individual Transcendentalists like Emerson were upheld as cultural icons, and less popular ones like Henry David Thoreau, Margaret Fuller were rediscovered and had their reputation adjusted to meet the genteel standard of the Gilded Age. But in the face of industrialization, big businesses, capitalism, new science, and particularly the evolutionism and its outgrowth, which was social Darwinism, Transcendentalism seemed to some acquaint irrelevance. So Transcendentalism lost its relevance and it became old-fashioned. But Transcendentalist idea about self-reliance, the beauty of nature, and the importance of principled living continue to animate and inspire reader till now. Thanks for watching. That was all about Transcendentalism, and that was a brief introduction of it. If you want more videos on concepts like individualism, enlightenment, romanticism, American Romanticism, and social Darwinism, you can comment in the comment section so that I can make the videos for you. Playlist on other topics are given in the description below. You can check these links out. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe to the channel if you like this video. Thank you.